Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can hear and see me okay. Thank you for joining this Your Overseas Home webinar. My name is Sebastian Bampton. I'm one of the account managers over here at Your Overseas Home. Today we're going to be talking to Manlio from Sea Legal, which is an Italian real estate law firm that we've been working with for a number of years now. And Manlio and his team have helped countless numbers of our buyers who have been undertaking similar journeys as yourselves over in Italy for property purchases. Today, we're going to be talking all about your legal considerations that you should be thinking about when purchasing property over in Italy. Really important part of the process, which a lot of people aren't aware of just what kind of risks are involved in. So it's great to have you all here with us today, whether you are listening live or on demand. At the end of this webinar and throughout the whole sort of conversation with Manlio, you are welcomed and advised to ask as many questions as possible. On the right-hand side of your screen, there is a questions tab there. So click on that, type in any questions, and we'll try and get through to as many of them as possible today. If not, we'll pass them across to Manlio and his team at Sea Legal, who can then follow up with you and obviously take a bit more time to go through your individual and unique requirements. We've got about 30 minutes, so I don't want to talk too long about myself, about the webinar. We'll get straight into it. So Manlio, I'll pass across to you. Obviously, you and I have worked with each other for some time. If you could do a quick introduction to yourself, you know, Sea Legal, and what you guys can do and help our buyers.
Yes, sure. I said hello everyone to join us this webinar on your own purchase in Italy, visas, title deeds, and legal process. We are a real estate boutique law firm based in Rome. We have also other offices all over Italy, in Tuscany, Lucca, in the beautiful region of Puglia and Sicily. We assist international clients through the real estate purchase process. So we have to navigate to safely salvaguard the interests of international buyers. We also assist clients in immigration matters such as visa, residency, or Italian citizenship. We also assist a couple of many clients in investment to Italy. If the investment purpose in Italy on the real estate is for investment purpose, so they need to set up a company, a real estate company, a property management company. So we're also setting up, helping in assisting and managing the company, Italian company. We also assist international clients in specific matter like taxation, because it's really connected to the residency. Maybe we'll speak about this topic later on this webinar, but also inheritance and succession. So we assist in different matter which are really complicated. They have an international aspect.
Yeah, perfect. So thank you. So thanks for being here today and, you know, sharing your knowledge and experience with the buying process. As I mentioned, you know, I know you've helped countless numbers of our buyers, but also other buyers from across the world in their journeys over in Italy, and just covering some of the services that yourself and the legal team help with. You know, it's a wealth of different parts of the process, which is applicable to everyone. So yeah, it's great to have you here. What we'll do, Manlio, so I've got a few questions that have actually come through from some clients and people who purchased before this event. We'll touch upon the general sort of buying process initially, and then we'll go through into visas and residencies, and obviously tax implications, and, as you mentioned there as well. Before we go into those sort of residency and tax issues, do you mind just giving us a bit of insight into the actual buying process over in Italy and how it potentially could differ from, you know, here in the UK or elsewhere in the world?
Yes. Just a general information or background about the purchase process in Italy, which is different from the UK or even the US. It's completely different. What also we suggest to international buyers, the mistake to avoid. For example, we suggest to the buyer do not sign any proposal with the estate agents. At least because when you are submitted an offer, this offer is written, it's a proposal. If this offer is accepted, this is a contract already binding. So this is important that prior that you commit to buy a property, to carry out due diligence on the property. Because if you sign this proposal, you cannot pull out, or in case of any negative effect, you cannot pull out. So it's difficult to recover the deposit back. Because in Italy, unfortunately, is another difference from UK system and the US system. The buyer or the estate agents require deposits at the moment of the offer, at the proposal. It is not, unfortunately, a really common escrow account. What we recommend is using escrow accounts throughout the process, for all the process, and include all the legal clauses for managing the escrow account service, because only the notary in Italy can manage escrow account service by law. This is the main difference. Obviously, there is other differences, which is the law, basically, on the contract that regulate the purchasing, which is Italian law, of course. But for example, on the properties, there are a lot of implication from technical and legal point of view. We live in Italy. Italy is a country of old tradition, long culture. The town has built centuries ago, and the law is succeed every decades. So it's a lot of law to be checked, to be involved. So it's important to hire some professional that can guide international buyer throughout the process.
Yeah, definitely, Wendy. I said, I know when we were across in Rome, we discussed the buying process at some length, and you mentioned that some of the properties that are on the market are very old properties, obviously very beautiful, but very old, and within that there are complications around the building and the contracts and the agreements, and that's why it's really important that if you're buying a property, you get independent third-party legal advice to ensure that you are protected, your funds are protected, because there can be tendencies when there's perhaps an estate agent involved for them to say or recommend their own ones, or for them to not recommend, looking over the contracts at all. So there are risks involved, buying anywhere, but also, in Italy, the buying process is different to here in the UK. So, yeah, really important that, especially with those funds, you mentioned deposit there, before you hand over any money, before you sign anything, get that advice and get that checking of the.
Correct. And another thing that I can add, because now I do, I don't know, many calls per day. What is also the difference is the role of notary and lawyer in Italy, which is some confused sometimes. The notary does not represent the buyer or the seller, represent the state, the Italian state. The notary has the ultimate role to register the final deed on the land registry and collect the payment for tax purposes from the buyer. The notarial deeds check only if at the moment of the closing the property can be sold if the lien at the moment of the closing, not in advance, not prior. And the title, the closing deed, which is drafted by the notary, is a template. Basically, it's a template which the lawyer from the seller and the buyer negotiate the terms and conditions of the purchasing. This is what is for example, when we hired, we safeguard that we represent the clients also in front of the notary. This is also another difference.
Yeah, I think it's an important difference to highlight. Your role in comparison to the notary, and you are there to ultimately look after the person buying the house, the clients or the listeners today that will be purchasing property. You're there to protect them and ensure everything is secure and above board. Manlio, you mentioned when offers go down and you exchange, you perhaps sign and put the deposit. When should perhaps people listening into this webinar now, when's probably the best time for them to start speaking to you, understanding how you can help them? When would you advise them to get in touch with yourself or the C Legal team or, any Italian lawyer?
Correct. We suggest you get in touch with a professional that can, prior to sign an offer with the state agent, because this is the most crucial part, because it's if the offer is accepted, it's a contract, binding contract, which has legal consequence, pay deposit. But at this time, we are at the beginning of the process. Basically, if there are some issue for the property, we will be responsible, because if you sign, the offer is accepted, from the legal point of view, you are buying the property as is. You cannot pull out. The seller can say, you accept it. It's your mistake that you conduct any kind of due diligence, any kind of checks. You already accepted. In theory, you can also lose the deposit, depends on how the proposal is drafted. It's important to negotiate in advance.
Yeah, say once you've signed on that dotted line, I suppose it's a binding legal contract over anywhere, but also over in Italy. And we've got a couple of questions from David here. David will answer. I'll put the second one to Manlio, and we'll move on to the visa residency a bit further on into this conversation. But Manlio, David asked, who holds / where are the title deeds held after the notary has concluded the contract process? So where are those physical documents of the title deeds? Where are they actually held over in Italy?
The title deeds,
yes,
are held on the land registry,
okay,
or at the notary office from the seller when the property has been purchased.
Okay, right, perfect.
But the buyer can appoint another notary to sign the final deed. But the title deeds depend if the simple purchase deed is at the notary office who completed the previous purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, if the property came from inheritance, we need to check it out where are located the title deeds. But there are also different checks to be carried out. Also, there are land registry to be checked. Could be also deposited at the land registry. Different.
Okay.
That's my case.
David, yeah, thanks for your question. So we'll move on to the visas and residency in just a moment. Just on that note there, Manlio, are those all of the documentation, all of the contracts, are they all written up in Italian, or will they be written up in English? What do they kind of look like?
For our practice as law firm, international law firm, we have all the documents in Italian and English.
Okay.
Proposal, preliminary contracts. At the moment of the closing, we don't opt for a translation of the notarial deed. We most likely, cases, we are appointed as representative at the notary meeting. We act and we sign the final deed on behalf of the client with the power of attorney.
Okay.
In this case, the notary is not needed to translate the notarial deed in English. Otherwise, also all the attachments, energy performance certificate, certificate of occupancy must be translated in English, which has also involved a lot of cost. Also, from the legal point of view, is not accurate if it's carried out by the normal interpreter. It's not, it cannot translate from the legal point of view correctly the legal sentences.
Okay.
So also, we prefer to sign directly with the notarial deed in Italian because it's way better.
Sure. Yeah, I think I know people are buying property in a different country to where they live, and the process is different, but also the documentation is different and different language. So having your expertise there, you're obviously speaking.
Yes, all our documents are in English. For example, also we submit a due diligence report. For example, for the clients, we carry out due diligence of the properties, a long document, but it's all in English.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Manuel, we've got quite a few questions coming in, and I'll try and go in some sort of order here. One is around from Ian, and Ian, thanks for your question, is how much is the typical deposit for a property purchase over in Italy?
Between 10 and maximum 20% of the purchase price.
Perfect. Thanks, Ian, and thanks, Manuel. Nice, easy one for you there to answer. We've got Jay here who's asked a couple of questions. One, I suppose, is a bit around negotiations of property purchases. But when buying in a property over in Italy, is it common to pay below the asking price, above the asking price? I know it's probably one of those questions which is dependent on the property or the vendor.
Depends on the property, but can be negotiable.
Yeah.
Most of cases can be negotiable.
I think having someone like C-Legal or Manlio or any expert that works in the country and knows the country, and having them to discuss the negotiations with as well is really beneficial on the buying process.
We negotiate also the purchase price always all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. John's asked here, which again is, I suppose, around the deposit. For a typical contract proposal, how much is the deposit as a percentage of the purchase price?
Purchase price.
Purchase price. Okay, so it's the whole amount. And what I do now, Manuel, so we've got some more questions coming in. Most of them are now coming around taxes, visas, and residencies.
Sure.
Obviously, there's been a lot of change over the UK.
Yes.
First, I think answer yes or no. Can UK buyers still purchase property in the UK? Sorry, in Italy, can they still live there? Is it still something that is feasible for them to do since Brexit?
The visa, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, is it possible for UK buyers to still live in Italy? Is that something still they can?
Well, it's not easy. Unfortunately, it depends on the personal situation of the person. If they are retired, it's much easier to get, for example, visa Italian residency permit, visa for elective residence is called, but it's mostly for retired people or people that can show that to live in Italy without working and having a sufficient economic means to stay in Italy without working. Now, finally, Italy approved the digital Nova visa. Possibly, if the applicant can be, if he can work remotely and having 28,000 euros as per income per year, which more requirements, can obtain a digital Nova visa. Depends on the situation of also for the purpose in order to obtain a visa. There is for which reason you want to visit Italy or move to Italy. So there are different type of visa. You need to select which one is more appropriate for the applicant. For example, the two digital Nova visa, for example, visa for elective residency, for example, do not follow with the quota system. If the applicant match the requirements of both visa, they can obtain a visa, which means there is no limit on this number of visa can be issued.
Okay.
Or the type of visa fall on the quota system, such as self-employment visa. It has, for example, a limit number of per year issued for the different type of work.
Okay. Yeah, I know the digital nomad visa is a fairly new visa that's been approved recently, which is obviously great for everyone that's looking to hopefully work over there, and it gives them that option now. So yeah, very, very good and promising news fairly recently coming out of Italy.
Yes.
Monique's ask a couple of questions, Manlio. Just going back to what we were discussing earlier, and I think it's an important question to ask is, it's around surveys on the property. Here in the UK, you normally get a survey on a property purchase before to make sure it's all above board. Does that happen in Italy? And if so, at what point in the process do surveys actually get carried out?
Yes, this check must be included as a contingency clause in order to carry due diligence. We work together with a surveyor for due diligence activities, because our work is related also for technical inspection, on the site inspection of the property, and also to verify, most important, also the cadastral check, because it can happen very often that after the building authorization or after a renovation of the works, the seller, possibly also without any knowledge, include the windows, extend the room, build a wall without authorization. So this is cadastral check is really important, that we appoint a local surveyor to carry out such check in order to verify if the official floor plan deposit on the land registry is real on the property. There is no any discrepancies.
Okay, is that a legal requirement within the process to have a survey completed?
No, it is not required, but it's better because, for example, they don't have, for example, the knowledge check also to see from London or from New York, to have also from us, from Rome to the property, also even here in Umbria, really close. It's important to have someone who check if the property is in compliance with the cadastral registry, the cadastral plan. It's really important.
Yeah, I think it's something that is an important part of the process, which people probably look into or hear online, or on a forum, that it's not a legal requirement, so they don't need to do it. But that within that process of omitting, a survey,
interior is also illegal because the property cannot be sold.
Okay. Yeah,
but what happened? No one carry out this check. The notary at the end of the process, at the notarial deed, download from the land registry the official floor plan, which does not reflect the accuracy of the real situation of the property, and also they sign also this floor plan. They accept as is, but is not official. So if someone discover that there is illegal works, the property cannot be sold because it's illegal. Notary doesn't carry out this kind of check completely.
Yeah, I think it's why it's important to understand what your role is within there, and again, it's to protect the buyer.
For example,
once they've signed.
To give a real example, we appoint a local surveyor. We instruct the local surveyor which check we need to carry out. We review the surveyor report. We include also in our due diligence report legal comments. For example, if there is a wall, the seller has to address this issue with an appropriate building authorization in amnesty to the municipality and pay the fine, or opt for another application of the municipality, etc., etc., etc. There are a lot of legal implications.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. And Manlio, so I know it's a really important part of the process, and it's important that people are protected. We do have 5 minutes of the schedule allotted time, so I want to get through.
Maybe there are a lot of questions.
A lot of questions. We'll go back to visas, residencies now, and just ask a couple around that. So we've got Monique again asking a question around: is there any time limits for the digital nomad visa? No
limits. No limits in terms of time or in terms of numbers, like quota. No limits.
Good stuff, Monique.
Finally,
many visas for as long as you want.
Finally, good news.
Anne here has asked: is it easier to purchase a property if you have an Irish passport? island are not in the Schengen area. Is that easier?
Doesn't make the difference.
Okay.
Because the main condition is that both countries, Italy and foreign country, match with the condition of reciprocity. European Union citizen with all the states, the condition is matched.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Leo, and thanks, San. And another question here we have from Jack is around how long it takes to actually apply for Italian citizenship. Is there a certain amount of time that someone has to live in Italy to then apply for Italian citizenship?
Italian citizen, first of all, they have to have Italian descendants.
Okay.
Mother, grandfather, etc. Or having already be in the country, resident in the country for 10 years.
Okay.
Legally.
Perfect. Thanks, Leo. So yeah, you've got a couple of options there. And with the actual process of applying for a visa, Manlio, or any type of visa, is that something that comes before someone should start looking for properties? At what point should they start thinking or talking to you about visas?
The situation of visa depends if the buyer would like to stay longer than 90 days.
Okay.
We advise also some clients applying for visa because the visa also has implication on their residency. Having Italian residency has an effect on the fiscal and tax situation on the applicant.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to avoid double taxation, because if you opt to reside in Italy, you move your residency to Italy, and by Italian law, when you are registered at a municipality, you become also Italian tax resident. This is an implication if they reside, for example, in UK or in the US. Both countries at a certain time can request payment taxes in Italy and pay taxes in England.
Yeah.
This situation must be addressed prior to file the visa.
Okay. No, it's a good point. And George actually asked a question here from, I believe, America, a US retired couple who are wanting to move across to Italy and retire. They asked around, are there social security and pensions, would they be taxed over there in Italy?
There is a double treaty. There is a treaty between Italy and the US which avoid double taxation.
Mm-hmm.
And also is because we have a lot of clients retired moving from US to Italy. This condition is regulated by the treaty. Only what we advise is to communicate with tax authority how you move and correctly and legally communicate with the tax authority your movement. Also having some proof of evidence, tickets, flights, visa, stamp on your passport, the visa on when you arrive at the airport. There are a lot of consequences.
Yes.
But it's important to move in the correct way, mostly where there is tax authorities involved.
Yeah, I think George says a very good question, and everyone here has their own unique requirements and different parts within their journeys of buying property. But I think it highlights why it's important to speak to the experts that know these answers to your questions to ensure that you are.
We have a tax department with also for international aspect, because it's an international aspect is not common in Italy also to consider to work on this field. So we can advise also in this taxation method.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you, George. And we'll pass over your details, Manlio and C Legal, who can spend a bit more time going through your requirements in detail. We've got We've got quite a few more questions here. A couple of questions have been around buying property in Italy in the name of a business here in the UK. Is that possible? Could you buy a property in the name of a business, a company here in the UK?
Correct, it is possible.
Okay.
It's possible that some documentation to be provided, but it's possible. we can advise a lot of clients how to prepare all the documents to be registered in Italy to own the property through the UK company.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you, Manlio. Actually, Alfie's asked a good question, which I don't know the answer to, Manlio, but I'm sure you do. Is if Alfie was to move to Italy to work, does Alfie have to have a job lined up before he moves across or she moves across to Italy?
Sorry, do you understand the question correctly?
In order to move to Italy to work, would Alfie need a job sort of prepared before coming to Italy? Would there need to be that agreement in place?
It depends on the visa. For example, self-employment visa requires that there has been already a contract. The applicant must acquire also the nulla osta from the police station, proving that they already have the contract with the company in Italy. Digital Nova Visa require, for example, is a freelancer. Mm-hmm. They don't have to provide any work, or digital nomad. They must have, for example, a contract in their states. For example, in the US, they have to prove that also the authorization from the owner of the company, which allow to work in Italy remotely. Depends on the visa.
Okay, yeah, it's a difficult question to answer, I suppose, until you know which visa they're looking to go after. Just on the visa topic as well, Manlio, is there some healthcare requirements needed in order to fulfill a visa? And also, can you help with that part of the process?
For all the kind of visa, it is necessary to obtain an insurance.
Okay.
Because as far as they become Italian residents, they are automatically they have to apply for request to be registered in the Italian national health system, and acquire, which is not so much expensive, an insurance for hospitalization, which we help with is not so difficult. But is required by law, which is also, we believe it is also important for foreigners.
Yeah,
it's not expensive like in the US.
Yeah, perfect.
Like €400 depends on the insurance company.
Okay, and you can assist with the healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Jamie Ross has just asked a question asking, are you able to help with architects, contractors? Do you have sort of contacts over there in Italy who can help with?
Depend on the area. Yes, absolutely yes. Or we can liaise with a local architect. It depends on where is located the property. In case we can also negotiate the terms and condition of the appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely yes.
But thanks, Jamie. I think, as I said, it's worthwhile having a conversation with Manlio and understanding where you're looking to purchase away from this, because, as I said, all of your requirements will be different, will require different help and guidance and advice throughout your journeys. Manlio, so we're a few minutes over time. I really appreciate you going through this afternoon. I appreciate everyone else that's listening in and asking your questions. I'm sorry we haven't actually got round to answering them all today. As mentioned, I will pass them across to Manlio and the team at Seed-Eagle to then follow up with you after this session. It has been recorded, and it will be uploaded online for you to view on demand in your own free time. And there is a code there that you can scan, which will take you through to Manlio and all of his contact information, where you can ask him questions directly, in your own time. Again, Manlio, thank you so much for all your insightful tips and advice, and as mentioned, all the help that you've given to all of our buyers so far for their plans over in Italy. And we do strongly recommend that everyone sort of gets in touch with Seed-Eagle and Manlio at some point, sooner rather than later, hopefully, for their property plans in Italy, to ensure that you are protected, looked after. So Manlio, say thanks again to you.
You're welcome.
And enjoy the rest of the time this evening over in Rome.
Yes.
We'll speak soon.
Yes, thank you everyone, and we are here to looking forward to assist them.
Perfect. Cheers, Manuel. Take care. We'll speak soon.
Bye.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.